Okay, well, welcome, Andy. And I don't need to really introduce you to the club because, as your shirt says, you're part of the foundation members.
Indeed.
But obviously, we'd like to, learn a little bit about you so the members know who runs their club. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I've had birds since I was about 12. Been doing it pretty serious for sort of last 10 or 15 years. Took my judge's exam, done that. So pretty much like everybody else, do a bit of breeding, do a bit of showing.
Yeah.
Helping, do a bit of running the club nowadays,
Yeah.
Which is all keeps me busy.
Oh, doesn't it ever? But yeah, so I mean, obviously you're into the show birds, but did you start with pet birds or anything, or did you just go straight in?
No, I've always shown ever since I was a junior. I wasn't a member of the BS when I was young. So my granddad basically, he was a school caretaker, and he had an aviary full of all sorts, basically zebra finches, canaries, and rainbows. And it was those that I was attracted to. But my dad was a pigeon racer.
Like mine.
Yeah. So I went to Germany with the Cub Scouts when I was about 12. Came back, the pigeons had gone, and there was about half a dozen breeding cages with some budgies in them when I got back.
Wow.
That's how it started.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so obviously we've set up this club to try and engage with the whole fancy, as we call it. And
that's right, yeah.
So, where did the ideas come from to start with? Because obviously, you invited me in once you'd got things going.
Yeah. There's just a market for including everybody that keeps budgies, not just people like me and you that show budgies,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people interested in helping, and most of them we've got involved. It doesn't matter whether you've got one budgie in your house and it's your best friend, or the only friend you've got, or your company, or whether you've got a few in an aviary outside just to look at, or whether you've got a hobbyist setup where you've got a few nest boxes in the aviary and breed them, or whether you take it as seriously as we do.
Yeah.
Just so there was, and today's market, if you like, is social media, and there wasn't anything out there that was social media, internet driven, because as we know from, for instance, like the Bird Room and, Simon Roberts' group and things like that, that's where everybody gets the information now. It used to be the EBF, but it seems there's still a bit of, obviously, things going on there. But even that, most of that's gone onto social media now, predominantly Facebook and, well, pretty much all Facebook, really.
Yeah. I think the problem with something like the EBF is it's not an instant platform, whereas Facebook, you can type a question, and if there's somewhere there that can answer it, you're answered in immediately.
That's right. Yeah, I think the EBF is a good resource.
Yeah,
and it does have an advantage over Facebook where things are easier to find if you're looking for something specific.
Yeah.
Whereas the biggest problem with Facebook is it starts there and then dozen people post it and it just disappears.
That's it. Yeah, so that's right.
It's quite, unless you're on it quite a lot, it's quite difficult to keep up.
Yeah. And I think we'd be lost without our website, I think, as well, because
indeed, yeah,
that's our parking lot, isn't it? We put everything on there that we want to keep fresh, keep people interested in. So yeah. So obviously, you wrote this article. When did you write the article? I didn't look for a date, I must admit.
I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was in the Budgies magazine, and to be quite honest, I wrote it, and I can't remember anybody saying a word about it at the time.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, I was looking at it thinking, this is as relevant to today as it was when you wrote it. And I wasn't sure when you wrote it, but I knew you said it was a few years ago. But yeah, it's as relevant to today as it was back then.
Yeah,
It says
exactly.
exactly the things that we've all been discussing, even outside of the UKBC. You know,
Yeah,
people are talking about these things. So yeah. So I mean, let's sort of break it down into sort of bits. And I know you spoke quite in depth about breeding over the winter. So for those that
yeah.
don't understand and obviously haven't seen the article, just explain how we ended up breeding through the winter and why it's so bad.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we all know they're from Australia and it's hot, and the rainy season comes, then the budgies go out to breed. Obviously, the budgies we've got over here, yes, they're from Australia, but the climatic issue is they're here now, and I've looked at my breeding records over the years prior to writing that article, and paired up early for the ring issue date for getting the birds for showing, and most people tended to pair up after the club show had happened. So that's, before they moved the dates around. So, and the first round, before the weather had broken, was okay. The second round, when you got into December and January, it was appalling. The results were appalling.
Yeah.
And then when you got to March, April, if you like, it picked up again. So there was a pattern. And is it really practical to pair up for one round, clean everything out, split them up, then wait another couple of months, then pair them all back up again? And it just means you're doing everything twice in a year. So I just decided 3 years ago that I was just going to stop winter breeding, and I pair up usually the second week in March. And since I have paired up at that time and not in the winter, I've bred over 200 every year, and this year I've done 200, nearly 270.
Yeah.
And that's my first chick hatched about the 1st of April, and obviously I've sort of finished now. So
yeah,
the last box was off a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So the numbers are there. So, and you don't get the biggest thing I found with not having to breed in winter. I've got a very large fan in my aviary because I like the air circulating. I like the fresh air. Everybody comments on when they come round how fresh it is in the aviary. Now, it's all right having your heating on in winter, but if you've got a big fan like that, you're paying a fortune, especially as we are with the current climate of electricity costs. You're heating your aviary, and then it's going straight out to the outside through the fan. So it's pretty pointless. And I would rather have fresh air than the warmth, because most of the time the warmth's for our benefit, not the birds.
Yeah.
The birds are quite happy through the winter. So yeah, I thought, and if you're not got heat in your bird room and keeping it in over the winter, people are always complaining about getting addled eggs or dead in shell. We go in, we tap the nest box, the hen comes off the eggs in the winter, she comes out of the cage, you're faffing about, you go in and change the seed, change the water, whatever, and the hens come out the box again because they're inquisitive, they want to see what's going on. You tap the box and, or just catch the cage front, they come out, and it doesn't take long in our winter for the eggs to chill. As soon as they chilled, that's where your addled eggs and your denny shell come from. The advantage of pairing up when it's warmer, the hens can come off and have a mess about, do the business, have a bit of seed, have a bit of soft food, whatever, go back in, and the eggs are not cold.
No.
And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the numbers have improved vastly, because of the lack of, it still gets some, because some hens just like to mess about. Cocks like to go in, some cocks like to go in and mess about, so you're always going to get some, but it's just alleviates a lot of that problem.
Yeah. And I think one thing you highlighted as well in the report or in your article was the fluctuations of humidity and temperature that you get even by artificially heating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a massive variation, and
you can create heat or cold either way, or humidity. What you can't recreate is atmospheric pressure.
Yeah.
That is what it is. You can trick the birds into thinking some things, but that's one thing that you can't change.
No.
You know, obviously they're probably far more sensitive to it than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just found it works for me, and a lot of people who I've spoke to, some people have changed, some people don't, and it works for some. Others just want to carry on doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
But I've just heard so many people over the winter say how bad the results have been with the breeding. They still keep doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
If something's wrong and you keep doing it, then it's still going to be wrong.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
it won't ever change. So,
No.
and the breeding records don't lie, because I had a similar number of birds paired up every year. So
Yeah.
and I just think everything sort of needs to be moved that way a little bit. Because obviously, regardless of when the ring issue date is, everything's geared up for that date. So, if that date is the 1st of October, 1st of November, 1st of December, whatever it is, then people pair up a few weeks before that date. Now, if that's the wrong time of year for getting your best breeding, but people want to show young birds, I'm personally not bothered about showing young birds, but but I can't. Well, I can't anyway, because there's still bar reds. But everybody's got them fully molted out and on the show bed, so it's irrelevant. But I'm not really fussed about. I'm quite happy to show adults on their own, because I'll start putting my 23 rings on next March, whereas people are already using them.
Yeah,
now,
I'd be the same. Haven't even ordered them. I've.
So it is what it is. I'd rather treat my birds how I want to treat them and breed when I want to do. And plus the fact, when I'm in the winter, the lights go off at like 7 o'clock. They don't come on till 10 o'clock next morning, so they wake up naturally. They get a 3-month period of solid rest, and I don't have to stand in there freezing, looking through 40 nest boxes and doing 40 lots of soft food and topping the seed up, changing 40 lots of water every night. When I get back from a long day at work and you go in there and it's -2 or even just 5 degrees, it feels cold. Now it's dropping at the moment, So all I have to do is go in and make sure the hoppers in the flight are full, all got seed in, and the water pots on the flight are two or three big water pots on the flight. I've got water, change the water, and that's it. I'm out.
Yeah.
Quick look round, make sure everybody's okay.
That's right. Yeah.
And then have a better look at the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So with your BS judging criteria, obviously you have to show at a couple of shows. So
I do.
So how do you do you always find you've got a few adults that are not breeding or finished breeding or not quite fit that you use for those particular shows?
Most of the time, it's like this year, the birds were still breeding, so I just showed. I took a dozen to one show and 14 to another, and most of the cocks were breeding.
Right.
And they're in good condition.
Yeah.
So if they got a bit of muck on them because they've been feeding, I'd just give them a quick wash day before, do the spots, put them back in the cage, and then just take them to the show and put them back in. I've not had any problems with putting cockbirds back in.
No.
A few were still in the flight, spares if you like, or birds that have not weren't fit enough to pair up at the time. But yeah, I don't find any problem with that. I didn't have any issues when they put the cocks back in.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, also you sort of spoke about there being too many shows.
Oh yeah.
And so what would be your idea or plan if you were to alter the show season?
When I say it's too many shows, I mean that's changing considerably this year after the pandemic, because I think that there's quite a lot of clubs that we know have gone by the wayside in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
I think with the pandemic, people have realised that their time is more precious than they thought, and there's more to life than showing budgies. And I think that's one thing that the pandemic has done. And I think it's hit the numbers considerably at some shows. The help is not there like it used to be.
Yeah.
The population of the budgerigar person, unfortunately, is getting quite old. There's not many. When people like me and you are the youngsters,
yeah,
You know, I mean, it's a bit concerning. There are a few, but not enough. A lot at the top end are 70, 80 plus.
Yeah.
You know, and do they really want to be umping staging out of a shed or out of a van and into a hall and building it up? And you know, so that's a factor. That's a factor as well. And some places have got two clubs quite close to each other, which seems a bit pointless.
Yeah, I think people get quite precious, don't they? They get quite precious.
Very territorial, mate. Yeah, they are indeed.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it is born out of some people not getting on with others. So, you know, they do their own thing. You know, but realistically, I mean, even some of the area shows are not well supported, and they should really be well supported. Yeah. You know, they should be the premier event in your area. Yeah, really. Yeah,
I mean,
and they're not. You know.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I found that sort of a lot of the shows that I was sort of getting schedules for and things meant you were doing sort of hundreds of miles. Not every weekend, but quite regularly. I know that was becoming like, can I really afford to go there and then following weekend go there? And have I really got the birds to do it? You know, so I think, you know, I think key shows at certain times of the year is probably a good way to go, where perhaps you all come together as.
Yeah, well, there's a cost implication as well. You know, with everything that's happening at the moment, the price of fuel. You know, it used to be. You know, you used to have to go and get a litre of diesel for £1.15. You know, it's still nearly £2. You know, and if your show's a good while away, then you have to consider, if I do go, is it far enough or too far not to be able to drive back home again?
Yeah.
That then puts you out all day, probably leaving at 7:30 in the morning, getting back at 6 o'clock at night.
That's right.
The gaffer might not be too happy about that.
Still got the rest of the birds to feed.
Yeah, you've still got your jobs to do when you get back, you know, and if you've got kids, or like I say, or the boss is not happy about you being out all day when you've been at work all weekend, and if you do a show Saturday and Sunday, you literally won't see you don't see your wife, your partner, or your kids. That's also becomes an issue.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I say, the cost implications, because if you're out all day, you've got to feed yourself.
Yeah.
You know, have a drink, whatever. You know, so and then you're paying your entries, you're paying your fuel. It can be quite expensive.
Yeah.
So you know, and I think in other countries, they don't have nowhere near the amount of shows that we have. We seem to have lots of little things scattered around all over the place, where to me, if you had, you know, like if the area society sort of took charge of it, you know, and you perhaps had, I don't know, one big club in your area that wasn't too close to where they had their show, and then they had their show, you know, so you've got like a big local club.
Yeah.
In a, you know, like I mean, Nottinghamshire, we haven't got any.
No.
Specialist budgigar clubs. We've got Ollerton, which is still a cage bird club, and that's got a big budgigar following. But other than that, we haven't got anything.
No. Nothing
at all. And technically, the area society is the NBA. That's in Birmingham, 70, 80 miles away from North Nottinghamshire.
But funny enough, you said about they don't have as many shows in other countries, but some of them travel thousands of miles by plane to go to that premiere show, don't they?
That's right. We're extremely lucky. You know, if people say, "Oh, he's showing at weekend," "Oh no, it's too far." It's like 50 miles. I'm like, seriously? 50 miles is too far. I thought it's a good job you don't live in America.
Yeah,
you know,
that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
You know, you'd be hard pushed to find something within 1,000 miles, probably.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I just think, you know, we'd be better off having more quality shows than, because and it's all about, the first thing anybody says is how many entries you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to, you know, it's all right saying, "Oh, you want to see 300, 400, 500 birds," but I'd rather go in somewhere and look at 200 good ones.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to some shows where you just know that somebody's filled 20 cages out of the sales flight and rushed them through, and yeah, numbers. It can't be about numbers, can it, any longer? It's got to be about a bit of quality, And I think, I think where we're heading with our shows, it's going to be good. I think, giving it the long term side of it.
Well,
Couple of quality shows.
I mean, there's a ridiculous amount of classes.
Yeah.
In an average show nowadays, which is and every time a new colour pops up, I mean, you've got Misty's popping up now, and you've got these, and Black Wings and Black Faces. Yeah. I mean, in another 5 years, are we going to end up with another 10 challenge certificates? Because it's right. We're not going to get many more entries at the show, but it just, to me, condense it back down again, make a bit of competition.
Yeah.
It's I think it's just too much. The size of the hobby is nowadays, and the amount of people that keep birds, you don't want every bird in show hall or every other bird in show hall getting a challenge certificate.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pushing for the hobby breeder. Call them pet keepers, really, whatever you want, but I like to call them the hobby breeders. And I think they've got their place to come yet. I don't, we haven't quite nailed that down yet, and we've sparked that interest. And I think, bringing those show birds and the hobby birds together could work really well.
It could, but as we've discussed, I think it's a different kind of show.
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's a different kind of show.
It's any hen and any cock. Yeah. In the young bird and the any age, because you might have pied spangles or recessive spangles, and so. But I think there's definitely a place for it, and I think our members have already shown that, with the interest that I've seen.
100%, yeah.
And I think we're going to see some of the rarest birds. I think we'll see some of the, some of these varieties that aren't necessarily seen at the mainstream.
We might even see some we've never seen before.
Exactly. Some of these things on Facebook, they say what mutations. I have no idea.
Yeah,
absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one. Yeah, but I mean, it's like with the colour budgerigars, or whatever some people call them, miniatures, whatever you call them, but they're popular. They're very popular.
They are, but again, you see, it's a niche market. Yeah. You either like breeding those and you understand what they're about, or you just enjoy breeding a budgies. And
or you just don't like them.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it's still, I think it's still a very small minority that want to breed those. And I think we're still, you couldn't say, there's 3 parts of the hobby, the show, hobbyist, and then your colour budgies, because we don't even see colour budgies now as pets, do we?
No, I don't like the words either. I think it probably wouldn't be better served if they were called the native budgerigar, because that's what they are.
Yeah,
they're the birds that came all those years ago. That's what they look like. That's what they still look like flying around in Australia.
Yeah.
When you see them pictures of thousands and thousands of light green budgerigars just swarming everywhere, that's what they look like. So I think they're the native budgerigar to me, not a colour.
Not a colour budgie.
Or a miniature. They're a native budgie.
Yeah. In whatever mutations you want to bring, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, there was a post the other day, and somebody had put a lovely colour budgie, wild budgie up, and one comment was, be careful, the spots are getting too big.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it is a very niche and very specialist part of the hobby, and I think it's all got its place, but I think we all need to come together in one place, and hopefully
100%.
And hopefully that's what the UKBC will do, especially show wise.
Yeah, well, we'll be there for those that want to be with us. It's
exactly
as simple as that.
Exactly.
It's a choice. You can. You don't have to.
No.
We've got lots of things going on. We try and keep on top of everything, and
That's right. Yeah.
We're doing okay. So we must be doing something right,
Yeah.
And like I say, we've got lots of things planned and lots of events planned, and
Yeah.
we're doing what we can, and
Got our first AGM as well coming up as well, haven't we?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I won't be long.
No.
And first year's accounts, which are apparently looking quite healthy,
Yeah.
And then obviously next year we've got plans to start giving a lot back.
Yeah, that's right. Now we've built it up a little bit.
Yeah, both to the hobbyists and pet keepers, and also to the by putting another show on. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the other one because of the bird flu, which was unfortunate. But there's a lot gone by the wayside since then on the same day. All over, because there are pockets of bird flu popping up all over the country at the moment, which is obviously a concern.
Yeah, Devon and Cornwall's not good.
It wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of months if there was a total lockdown.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I think it's a bit like the pandemic we had with coronavirus. I think the bird flu, it's that scattered around all over now. I think they'll end up putting in a complete mesh over the entire country.
Yeah.
And stop any birds, because the only way to stop it is by stopping unfortunately you can't stop wild birds moving around. That's the problem.
That's it.
But at this time of year, at least a lot of them have cleared off to the continent where it's a bit warmer.
Yeah.
So now might be the best time to do it before they all come back again. So
yeah, that's right.
There's a lot of dead birds, on the beaches, in the lakes, and I've heard lots of stories, So
yeah,
unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I've covered some of the questions. I don't know whether you want to. Is there any other bits you want to pick out of your article that I haven't sort of?
No, not really. I think it just, you've seen the summary. I think that just sort of sums it up literally. I just think that for it to be successful, for your breeding to be successful and not having to use heat all the time and making things more expensive than they need to be, if everything was shuffled along so people sort of paired up in February, March time and bred through the spring and early summer, and then they could stop before the end of the summer. The shows could move later as well. Not instead of starting in June, they could start later in the year, because we don't get adverse weather in the winter now like we used to get.
No,
we get a bit, but our roads are a lot better. The way we treat the roads are a lot better. It's very rare that we get the motorways saying you can't go anywhere near, it's blocked or whatever. In remote parts of the country, it does happen, but mainstream, most of the time, there's not that issue with transport like there used to be 30 years ago when it was a problem. And the other thing as well is when all the shows are on at the moment, it's while the kids are off school. So if you've got kids, is it, again, it goes back, does the boss want you going out to bird shows when you should be having some family time because the kids are off? You've got school holidays, you've got you've got your own holidays if you're fortunate enough to have a couple of weeks in Spain or wherever, and then you're away for 2 weeks. But it's like you're getting the birds ready. It's not those 2 weeks you're missing, because if you're away for 2 weeks, you can't get your birds ready for when you get back. So you could be missing 6 weeks out of a show season if you have one holiday.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was moved sort of to start September time when the kids have gone back, it's less of an issue to me.
Yeah.
I just think we're doing everything at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I really do. And the birds, they know when spring is.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And it's not November because you turn your lights on till 11 o'clock at night and put a candle in there to make it a bit warmer. You know what I mean? It's that. It's not. That's not it.
No, that's right. There are a lot of other.
Technically, the rainy season.
Yeah. It's supposed to stimulate them, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think
it needs to rain on them, not outside.
Yeah. But I think as well, there's a lot we don't know about either, because as Kevin has alluded to many times, that there's just not the research into budgies, is there? There's no money. It's not like pigeon racing where you can make thousands and thousands of pounds by sending your birds to South Africa or whatever. But, and I think building on Kevin's work over the next however many years, I think we will have a lot more information about how our birds breed. And
100%. I mean, I've had birds for over 40 years, but I've still listened and watched. I've mainly listened to what, the lectures he did. And the budgie behaviour one, that is one of the first ones he did. You'd think, oh, God, I know what budgies do. I don't know. But I listened to it and I picked a couple of bits out of it. And believe it or not, the difference, this could be the difference between breeding 200 last year and 270 this year. Because when he got us on about the rainy season, especially, and about the water and the plentiful water that comes around just before breeding, I listened to that while I was on holiday, just as I was on holiday, ready for pairing up when I came back. And as soon as I got back, the first thing I did, I bought 2 really big trays, like the ones that you put your tomato plants in, you put the bag in.
Yeah.
About 1 inch deep. And I put 1 in either flight, filled them up with water, and I changed it every day. And the hens especially went potty.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was just, and I know it's like, that's Australia and they have the rainy season, blah, 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 and it's so far away from what we do. But I tried it this year for a couple of weeks before I put them pairs down. And I've bred more again this year. And I should do the same again next year. Those trays will, but they'll go in a little bit earlier this time rather than a bit later. So a couple, 3 or 4 weeks before I pair up, I'll start giving them lots of water to get at every day so they can bath and do what they want, and I think that, and I've had them 40 years, and it's not something I ever thought about, but just listening to what Kev did, yes, I knew a lot of it, but you can always find out.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny because when I started on Facebook a long time ago, these cat fountains that people were buying for their budgies.
I've seen them. They're funny,
and all of a sudden I got one, put it in the flight. I've never seen birds bath like it ever. And even with trays of water, I find now if I pour from the height, the jug, they come running.
Yeah.
But you put a bowl of water in and they look at it, have a drink, and water. It's definitely got to be stimulating.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I've said I was going to try and I think, was it Willie Docker? He might have had almost like a fountain system that he built and puts on the edge of the flight. But I was going to do something similar to that, but I just haven't got round to it. But you're right. And I think that stimulation, and then I always put in hazel and silver birch for them to strip, but I make sure it's wet first so they bath in it.
Yeah, well, I've got obviously 2, thanks to Andrew Luke, and he told me which 2 eucalyptus trees to get. So I basically went from a twig about 2 foot high to 10 years later to them like being that thick and ridiculously massive, to the point where I can't use as much as what they grow. Wow. So I end up giving loads of it away, as you've probably seen on Facebook. I just cut it down, stick it outside the house, and say if anybody wants some, fetch it. And they absolutely love that. And there's always eucalyptus in my flight, regardless. I mean, with the fountain thing with the water, as silly as it sounds, probably the easiest way to do it would be to get one of the ornamental ones that people stick in the garden.
Yes.
With a pumping, I know you'd have to clean it out a bit more regular, but that would be the ideal thing, where it just comes down the edges and but whether you'd want it inside your bird room, I don't know. It'd be all right if you've got a flight like mine, where it's full size, full height concrete floor. But these are flights, or these cage flights. You put a bit of concrete on that, it might make it bend a little bit. Not very practical, so they have to stick with the cap fountain, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I adapted one of mine. I put a higher spout on it because I found there were so many birds trying to get underneath. They were, struggling. So but it's all these little things we pick up, and you pick them up from the strangest places as well, especially with Facebook.
Oh, indeed,
So
the thing is, we're like when you give them a bath. So if you give them a big bath, once the one goes, the lot go. It's like they'll sit staring at it thinking, what's this suspicious thing? But once they know what it is, straight away next time, they're in before you've even got it sat down on the floor properly, before you're pouring the water in. And they're very cautious about the depth as well.
Yes, yeah, I learned that quite quickly.
Yeah, it don't matter if you use whether you use an inch tray or like a cap tray that's like 6 inches,
Yeah,
and put the same amount of water in. They still are hesitant to go in either one.
yeah.
They don't seem to have any depth perception.
No, that's right. That's right.
So once one sort of goes in accidentally, then
They all bundle
they all
in.
pile in. Then it's quite
Yeah.
funny when they all start flapping around with the water,
Yeah.
and it's dirty within minutes.
Oh,
Full of
yes.
feathers and Christ knows what. So you
Yeah.
do have to change them regular, especially when it's a bit warmer.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Is there anything else we want to cover?
You can talk about whatever you like, my friend.
Well, so just some random questions then.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what sort of soft food do you feed?
Well, I've tried many things over the years, various bits and bobs, and I used to nip in and see Richard and Michael Miller when I was working up in Cumbria, and what they do is quite extensive.
Yes.
But a lot of it's quite good, and there's a few products that they use that Richard always used to say to me, if I couldn't use all these products and I had to pick a couple of them, these two would be the ones. So I sort of took that away. And then a friend of mine who don't keep birds anymore, Richie Scott, he's very in depth with what he did and what he used to do and feed.
Yeah.
And he basically put me onto these micronized oats. Because apparently, from what he said to me, and I can't say I'm an expert on this, but he said something within the oats or the groats, there's some sort of constituent part of that if the birds get too much, it can send them a bit
crackers,
a bit crackers, like some sort of drug, effect, and it can make them a bit angry, a bit like you do, well, if you overdose them with that vitamin additive vitamin, that gold one, whatever it's called. If you give them too much of that, that can send them a bit hyper as well, and they can start attacking and doing stuff. Apparently, some with these oats or groats is very similar. But the micronized, so basically they microwaved, and that sort of either calms this down or it's primarily for horses, and it's the same issue with them.
Right.
So he told me where to buy them from. So I went, got some, and I've been using it for the last 3 years, and that's the base of my soft food, the micronized oats. I used just supplements that I get from Alan and Gina, because I'm one of their authorized agents anyway. So I used their veg and carrot. I mixed the just veg and a carrot together to make a bit more carrot. And then obviously with the things that Kevin has done recently, he's done his soft food one, and he's talked about calcium carbonate and stuff like that. So, I've got some calcium carbonate as he suggested, and I use that now.
Yeah.
And I always, basically the mixture is quite dry. It's very dry when I do it without the supplements, the veg.
Yeah.
And that's that. Richie used to use fresh veg. He used to chop it up, use that, and that predominantly is drier. It sounds a bit strange, but that's drier than the just supplements one.
Yeah, because you've got to rehydrate the supplements. One.
Although I don't soak mine and then rinse it off. I just put enough water in so it soaks it up, and it basically goes into a lump.
Yeah.
And it does quite quick. It happens a lot quicker, so it doesn't get wet, as in soaking wet.
Soggy. Yeah.
Yeah. So once I've mixed all the dry ingredients up, which is quite a few different bits and bobs, and proteins and seaweed and what's the one they're called? Hedgerow herbs. That's another horse thing.
Yeah.
Obviously we use it in lesser, some parsley, and it's amazing what there is in proteins. And I use gold label garlic, glucose, and honey, and it's like a big oily type substance. smells terrible to me, but the birds love it. And basically, as soon as you put your veg in, I'd put two or three tablespoons of that on the top. And what that basically does, because the just veg is wet, now that wets the things, but it doesn't necessarily bring it together. So once you've worked out how much you're using, I've got it off pat now, and you put so much of this oil in, once you've done it all, the oil sort of, it's like an oily type stuff. It binds
it all up.
Those little powders like calcium carbonate, the Breed Max, which is one of the products I swear by, Breed Max. It's fantastic. And all these little like powders, you know, I use glucose powder as well, obviously for the energy, and whey protein. So they're all fine powders. So when you use that sort of oil, it sticks everything to the bits that they eat, i.e. the micronized oats or the veg. So all these powders basically end up stuck, but it's still quite crumbly. I don't make it so it's wet because it just sticks to the face and
my lot won't eat wet soft food. They hate
it. It's a bit of an art form, but when you've done it when you're doing it every other day, because I normally mix enough up for 2-3 days and keep it in the fridge outside, because it's fine like that, you know. But they only get a very tiny amount of it because it's quite high in protein. So those little plastic scoops that are about possibly 3/4 of an inch deep and 3/4 of an inch across, it's the equivalent of like a teaspoon. They get one of them. That's it. They don't get any more. They get because with it being high in protein, if you give them too much of it, you think you're doing them a favour, but you're not. Because all you're doing is giving them the shits. And that will happen. Undoubtedly, that will happen. So,
and I think sometimes you find that the hens they're almost on to the next round before they finish the first round, of thing. And it sends them out a cycle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So they get that much per day at night. I mean, when it's breeding season, when I walk in the shed at night with that tub, they are running up and down the fronts like that until they get it. And then as soon as the hen hears that cage door, because I use the round ones that like the canary breeders use, the round ones that you just clip on the door holds it down. As soon as they hear that door go, they're straight out the box and they're fighting the cock to get out, and they both dive in until it's all gone, and then they scarper again. So by the time I put the first one in, by the time I get to cage 20, that's gone. But they don't, and they carry on running up and down, but they don't get any more until next night. That's it. And one thing that Richard and Michael always said to me is, we soft food, start it before you pair up as well. Don't wait till your chicks are in the box, chicks are hatching, and then put your soft food in.
No, that's right.
It's too late. It's too late. All the goodness you need to get in your parents. We're passing it on to your chicks. So, that is one bit of advice they gave me, which I took on board as well. Start it at least 2 to 4 weeks before you're pairing up. But I also give it to my birds through the year as well, a couple of times a month when they're not breeding, just so they keep that taste for it. Because you know how difficult it is to get birds onto soft food. It can be extremely difficult, especially if you're changing something.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, with mine, I tend to drop the protein this time of year to about half the level, and then come sort of January, February, well, usually January, I start to then bring it up. But I'll always watch the weather and everything. So one question I've asked a few people, and not everyone's been able to answer it as I thought they would, is what's your ideal bird? What do you like to see in a show cage?
Well, that's changed a bit over the years, to be fair.
Not surprised.
It's quite easy to end up going down some wrong rabbit holes, because what wins is not necessarily what should win or what you should be breeding. There was a spate about 5-6 years ago where there was a lot of big, rough, ugly birds winning on show bench because they were, big lion head, but the rest of the bird was just awful. And then what happens is, you go to shows, you see them winning, you've got what you think is quite a nice stylish bird, but it's getting beat by these type of things. You think, well, I ain't winning with that. That's no good. I've got to breed some of them. So then you start breeding them and start realizing what problems comes with them. Feather issues, lack of tails, lack of flights, possible cyst issues when you start going down that route. So, and I did go down that. I'll be honest, I did go down that rabbit hole for probably about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And the thing was, when I bred some of them birds, they wouldn't bloody win. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's winning. I bred something like that, and they're still not winning. Oh, right. And it worked out quite well, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But I decided this is just wrong. So I got rid of them all.
Yeah.
Not all the birds. I got rid of anything that was a bit what I call OTT.
Yeah.
And went back to the birds that I used to have before, which were always quite stylish. Because a friend of mine commented on that, and I've had some visitors around recently after the show at Doncaster, and both sets, one set of lads from Norfolk and another set from Ireland, both said within sort of 10-15 minutes, can't believe how much you've changed your birds in 3 years.
Yeah.
They've gone from totally one wrong thing to being somewhere like where hopefully they should be.
Yeah.
It's I don't like the word ideal, because you'll never see a budgie that looks like that ever.
No, and I think you're the first one actually to bring that up, because I didn't say the ideal. I just said, what's your ideal bird?
Yeah.
And there is this misconception of I have to breed to the ideal for a reason. And I've never been like that.
No.
I've always been like what I want to breed.
It's a flat drawing for a start. How can you breed a flat drawing? You at least needs a 3D image.
Yeah.
To get that. You can't judge it on the you can't judge the density of the feather on a picture. You can't judge the width of the feather. You can't, the only time you've ever seen a budgie with a perfect round spot is a coloured budgerigar, because it's about as big as a pin.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very hard to find a perfectly round spot on an exhibition budgie, regardless of size.
That's right.
So it's very difficult to breed that ideal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't. You should have something to aim it towards.
Well, yeah, because I always say to beginners that ask me, because I always ask them, what's your ideal budgie, and they say just a good one, and you think, well, how can you? Yeah, but how can you pair up if you haven't got an end goal?
Yeah.
My old mentor, he was forever. He'd never, and I think I do the same now, is he never answers a question with an answer. It's always another question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really does make me think. And I've ended up this year in a position where I've got a few birds that I don't like. Yeah. And one or two of them, yes, they've got their uses, and I'm pretty sure I will use them. But 4 or 5 of them, if somebody wanted to take them tomorrow, they could. I wouldn't miss them. But yeah, so it's funny. So if money was no object, then where would your next outcross come from?
Oh my goodness, that's quite a difficult one. Probably already been.
Did you get what you wanted though?
No, I'm not. I don't nowadays. I don't get a lot of birds in at all. I think you do need to get outcrosses.
Yeah.
And I think you always need to bring something in to keep the blood fresh or fresh air to carry on, to make sure your fertility carries on, because that can soon, go by the wayside if you keep everything a bit tight. I think there's a lot of different breeders have all got something that you'd like.
Yeah.
It is the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, that's right. It is, isn't it?
And you've got to decide. I've now decided what I want, and that's what I'm going to stick to, regardless of what's winning. And I think, because ultimately the judges decide what's winning on the show bench, not the ideal.
No.
It's the judges that decide, and many judges judge very differently. Yeah. Some like the bigger birds, some like the birds with the big heads, some like the the birds with a style, and more to the type it should be. You know,
Yeah.
it is such a massive difference in judges, even though we all take the same exam and do the same thing. You pick the birds that you personally like most of the time when you're out there.
And I think that's why we go in cycles as well. Is like you said, 3 years ago it was all the buff birds winning, but actually probably no, and I'm not singling out any judges, but maybe peer pressure from people that didn't like those birds may have won the day, and then we go in another cycle where we're back to that stylish bird again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bird I saw recently on Facebook, and I thought, wow, now that he asking me what bird and it was a cinnamon sky blue. Is it S1 Anwar?
Yes.
Did you see that?
Was it Halen? Was it the winner, the show winner, and it was on a perch, very long?
It was. He just spinning it round. I know he posted it, and I thought that is, if you're going to use something as an ideal, that you're getting somewhere close with that kind of bird.
Yeah.
You know, it's even then, you know, the feather difference between that and what you're looking at in the drawing is totally different.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was perfectly feathered. It was stylish. Everything was in place. It was in the right proportion.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. The one thing you can't judge from that is how big it is.
Yeah. If it had been in a show cage, you and I would have known how big the bird was. And always, as another thing that I tell beginners is buy a show cage. Doesn't matter if it's a bit rough, because you need, if you want my honest opinion on a bird, and I never do it from photos, I want videos, I need them in a show cage, because that's our standard marker. You know, I know it's a big bird if its eyes above the crease in the back. If the eyes below, I know he's got tiny birds. So
yeah. You see, that's a bit of a contentious issue as well in show cages, isn't it? Are they big? Are they big enough? Are they not? But this, you know, I mean, to me, they made this change and went to the plastic. But for me, the one thing that I think should have happened is that the slope on the back should have been moved up.
Yeah.
You know, and perhaps a score line put along the back of the cage
for a marker. Yeah.
Yes. You know, so you still got a reference point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of birds, especially birds that are a bit nervous or not been out a lot, they do try and hide under that little bit of a slope at the back, you know. And I think if that was lifted up an inch or two, you know, so there was just enough room just to get your fingers in to be able to move it around. Yeah. You know, I think that would have been, and it would have been better for the birds because they're bigger as well. Give them a bit more room in the cage, and it would stop the lobbyists getting on. Because, you know, unfortunately, that's another thing that could happen before too much longer.
Yeah.
You know, especially with these shows that are happening over too long a period for me. You know, I don't think any show should be longer than a day, to be honest.
I don't think there's a need to, but again, we're then into traveling, aren't we? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and we say they don't want to be in a show cage, but if you travel up the night before, that's almost a day. Then they're at the show, and then you might stay again another night. And that's what I find quite difficult is how am I going to look after my birds when they're not actually in the show? Because I can't take them in the hotel room, you know. So,
well, that also goes back to the point of having, like we were saying earlier about the shows. If you're having a premiere show in your area, you don't have to do that.
No.
You know, I mean, you're on about the, you know, the show at Doncaster, but if each area had a show of that ilk, you know, if somebody wanted to travel out an area, then that's up to them. But if every area had that, you know, then you wouldn't need to necessarily do that. Or why not move that show round to each area society in turn?
Yeah,
you know, because that would be the premier area show that year, would be that show, you know, and let everybody have a bash, you know.
Because I think that started to happen when I was with Dorset. I'm sure it was something like Western Counties there had been a show that Western Counties sort of got taken over by for that 1 year.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, it was a good show. I'm just trying to, it might have even been our show at Dorset. But yeah, so there are ways around it, aren't there? You know, to and for them to say, oh well, the staging's here, and you know the helpers are here, and the people that know what they're doing. Well, we still know what we're doing down south.
Yeah, well, they are. The thing is, that's why if you use the area society as that base and that model, that is already there, because there's no area society that doesn't put a show on.
No,
you know, so
right.
you know, the main officials might have to come from a different place, or but everybody goes to the Doncaster regardless of where they're from. You know, all the people that do the big jobs, if you like, or the main officials. So, but each area has got its own nucleus of people that still do stuff. They've got they should have enough staging, or can call on another local club to borrow some more from to do it.
Yeah.
Because with the best will in the world, with how many birds we're getting at the shows now, a large sports hall is more than adequate.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know, the days of you need Doncaster racecourse are long gone.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that the amount you used to get a massive amount of traders, a massive amount of people selling birds. You know, you'd have 6,000-7,000 entries. It'd just be forever winding round. You know, you could spend all weekend there quite easily and not see everything in there.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It won't go back to that.
No, that's right. There's just not the people in the hobby.
No, and there never will be. And unfortunately, most of that's down to technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the younger generations have got other interests.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And they don't want the responsibility of looking after something else.
No. Well, it's funny because my daughter, she was always helping me, and talk of the devil, there she is. But now, with her college, she's out before I'm even up, and I've had my tea before she's even home. So there is a shift in what there used to be. You used to go to college locally, and it was only when you went to uni that you were away from home. But now it's very different, and she's got a job as well to do with her.
Yeah, work, well, it's a big drain on your time. It's a big drain on your resource. It's a big drain on your finance. And obviously you've got to have a willing partner, spouse, partner, whatever.
That's right.
Regardless of whether the fact that they're not slightest bit interested, you still have to be, compliant in what you can and can't do, or how much time you should be spending or not doing that.
Funny enough, our UKBC weekend away at Stafford, that was the first time the wife had come with me to anything to do with the birds. And she thoroughly enjoyed it, and she's already planned what we do next year. So and I think that's come because our children are a lot older now, 18 and 21 this year, so they look after themselves now. We don't
unless there was something to do totally unbudgie related. There's not a cat in hell's chance that my other half would come with me to a show at all. If there was some shopping facility, or a friend locally that she could visit and talk to, anything but that. Not. And a lot of partners have got not the slightest bit interest.
No, she didn't love fishing. I could go fishing for days on end, but she wouldn't even grace the bank.
No, exactly. So, and if you've got a couple of hobbies, it has more of a.
Oh God, yeah.
Because most people who keep budgies have usually got another hobby as well.
Koi carp,
golf, fishing, football.
And they're all expensive ones as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's but hobbies nowadays for kids are on there.
Yeah.
And that's why the club works, because we're on there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's just instant, isn't it? They switch it on, it's there, and away they go.
That is pretty much the only way to engage with younger people nowadays.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And as I found out just lately,
and that can be in the same room as well, because you'll have one sat in that corner room, one sat in this corner, and they'll be texting each other.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it's too much trouble to talk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I've seen it, So.
Yeah. And I found out just lately that how old hat email is now as well.
email. What's that?
Exactly. You just have to keep forwarding them on to me.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
My personal email, I'm lucky if I check it once a week.
Yep.
Because the only thing that's in it's spam.
Yeah.
Because everything's done on Messenger or Facebook or
That's right.
WhatsApp. You know, it's there and it's in your palm of your hand, and no matter where you are, you've got it. You know, well, unless you're in the middle of Welsh Hills and you can't get a signal for love and money.
No, that's right.
You know,
but even work, isn't it? You know, I've got my work emails on my phone now, so I'm connected to work 24/7. You know, it's only when I switch it off that I'm not. You know, so.
But obviously, you know, we've got an email address and we do get quite a few emails to clubs. So, you know, we get a lot of people using the messenger button, which is good. It's all, you know, and to be fair, there are quite a few people who are older than us who are now not so much technophobe because of what, you know, they're to get what they want. Yeah. They're having to realise that it's on there and they can do it with a little bit of help.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I've helped a couple. I think Sue and Pete, you know, we spent a bit of time with them, got them going, and away we went, you know. And the
prime example is and I hope she doesn't mind me saying it, is Lynn. You know, she was a bit lost. You know, unfortunately, we lost Bill. She only lives right corner. We lost Bill a few years ago, and Lynn just had a basic phone that did nothing apart from call and text. Yeah. You know, and after a couple of times being around, and I saw her, and we decided to get her a new phone, and we got the Facebook installed and did all that, and obviously she likes to know how everything works, and we, in a matter of a week, she's on more Facebook groups and she's reconnected with loads of her old budgie pals who she'd lost touch with because they're on Facebook. Yeah, you know, and it literally, that thing has given her a new lease of life without a doubt. You know, because she's got friends and she's got lots of other groups, and obviously she does as well. She likes crafting. That's opened up a massive amount of doors, and now she's got more friends who can't keep up now. Yeah. You know, and 18 months ago, she was basically just hardly seeing anybody or talking to anybody. Yeah. You know, and she's helping with club massively, doing a fantastic job. You know, definitely. And she's gone from being a total technophobe to now, you know, doing a lot. You know,
apart from when Facebook do an update.
Oh yes, which she doesn't like updates.
No, she doesn't.
And to be fair, this last one is it's a bit of a pain for us as a club, because obviously they've split
the profiles, haven't they?
Yeah, and it makes things a lot more complicated. Fortunately, our members don't have to suffer that problem. We do.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Yes, Lynn did send a message that wasn't too complimentary, let's say. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And, we still love you, Lynn.
We do indeed. Yeah, and she's like I say, that social media thing, it's literally given her a massive boost, and you know, she can get involved again like she used to. I mean, she's going to Ollerton at the weekend to help them out in the back office. You know, which is great for them, because they get a bit of help, and gets Lynn out of the house for a day. I'm going to take her across and bring her back. So brilliant. And that's what it's all about. You know, helping people. Yeah. You know, it's unfortunately the one thing that has done, it seems to have stopped a bit of the physical social side.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, COVID hasn't helped either, because you know, I've got a lot of people that I used to see club wise, you know, they don't always want to come out, you know, if the R rate's gone up because the news said so, you know. And because they're afraid of, you know, what could happen. But
I'd still much rather. I mean, last night I went to see a friend and I was there 3 hours. Yeah. Just talking budgies. Yeah. You know, and there's still a few people around that's what it's all about. You know, it's great you can keep in touch with people on the Facebook and on the phone, and you put you onto new people. But I'm going to see Mr. Luke tomorrow for an hour in my lunch as well. So I've not seen him at his new place. You know, so that'll be good to talk to Andrew.
I'm not jealous at all. You know,
I get. Fortunately, with my job, and and being a surveyor, I'm pretty much all over the place.
Yeah.
It comes in handy to develop a coffee stop.
Definitely. I used to have one
Ah.
very good one when I head down
Yeah.
towards Swanage and that sort of area.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
but it's dependent on obviously whether people are at work. Fortunately, Andrew's not at work. He's working from home tomorrow, so I can see him tomorrow.
Brilliant.
I go, you know, Alan and Gina, they work from home most of the time. So if I'm passing there, I can nip in, and Sean works at the unit, so I can nip in and see him. And you know, it's quite handy getting. It's fortunate. Yeah, I don't have to go home, get in my car. I can usually.
That's the thing. I mean, it's funny because I've got probably in my area, I've got quite a few people, but some of the ones that you really want to see and a trip are further away. I think you're quite. Yeah. I sometimes think you're quite lucky being in where you are because you've got such a range of breeders around you.
Well, you say that, but there's not actually many around me.
No,
there's not. They're within an hour.
Yeah.
Most of them are an hour.
Yeah.
There are very few people, believe it or not, in Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. There's not a massive amount.
No.
And if you go towards the East Coast, it gets less and less and less because there's nothing out towards the East Coast at all.
No, that's right.
You know, there's nothing there. So, you know, Leicester's an hour away, Derby's 40 minutes away, Sheffield's an hour away. You know, so there's plenty within an hour.
Yeah.
Sort of an hour. But they are on the dwindle.
Not like when the old boys used to say they got on their bike and did 5 in a weekend or in 5 in an afternoon because you went from neighbour to neighbour and had a look at Avery's, is it?
Or went to the shows on the train with birds on the train, which used to happen. You know, it's like, really, did that used to happen? You know, but it did, and I couldn't imagine doing that today.
I mean, some used to send the birds on the train and them not go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they just up at the other end. I know it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, completely bonkers.
What that's compared with what we do now.
Yeah.
It is. But yeah, I mean, it's just me and my mate Dave. Every Sunday night we would visit somebody locally in probably 25, 30 years ago, and we would see somebody different every night for 6 months before we had to start that circle again.
Yeah.
If we did it now, we'd be lucky if we saw anybody different in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I'm afraid. But hopefully, we've got a lot of members now.
Yeah.
Picking up. There's a lot of people coming in, so there is interest. There's definitely more interest than what I think we thought there was.
Yeah.
And they're getting involved, and people are coming on the groups and having a chat. And Dr. Kev's there for any veterinary advice, which is going down a storm.
Yeah,
even though
definitely.
Some of the questions to us as more experienced people, I think, oh my goodness. But if you don't know, you don't know. So
no, that's right.
And it's all helpful stuff. So Unfortunately, the only time I get to listen to anything or watch anything seriously is when I'm on holiday, because I just don't have time when I'm home.
No, that's the trouble, isn't it?
We're working, looking after the birds, and looking after the club as well. It's it's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, but quite good fun. Yeah, that's right.
But worth it.
Right. Well, I think we'll leave you there. I think we've done better than we thought.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
Yeah, lovely.
It's been great.
All right then. Keep up the good work, and we'll I'll see you soon.
Yeah, likewise, and onward and upward, and let's hope that the membership carries on growing and everybody becomes good friends.
Yes, definitely. Brilliant. Because
ultimately, it's a hobby. We all need to. We all at some point, everybody needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
It's our strap line. Where budgies come first, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We might not get on with people, we might not like people, but at the end of the day, it's all about the welfare of the birds and how we look after them, and that's our main thing. And we'll continue to do that, Neil. So
yeah, that's it. Brilliant, lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
See you soon.
Good night. God bless.